the Hudson Media Group studios. This is Talking Politics, and I am the professor, Fernando Uribe. There's a lot to discuss, so let's get started. This is what I'm thinking about right now. Now, folks, an interesting story came out in the Associated Press this week, and I sort of want to let me unpackage it a little bit here because I think it affects all of us here, not just in Hudson County, but throughout the state of New Jersey as well. And what I really want to sort of start off by saying is cheers to Google Maps for doing right by motorists. Now, what I mean by that is, and listen, let me be very fair. I've always been pro-law enforcement on this program and also on my weekly podcast, which you can listen to live every Wednesday night at Blog Talk Radio by going to www.blogtalkradio.com/Talk on the Hudson. And one of the things that I discuss openly is while I support law enforcement, I still have a right as a taxpayer and as a motorist to be cynical of some of their practices. Now, again, it doesn't mean that, I'm anti-law enforcement or anti-cop. I'm just anti-bad practices. Now, let me just sort of unravel this for you here. Now, listen, whether it's sort of those annoying cops we deal with in Bayonne on Kennedy Boulevard, or even Sea Caucus cops that are monitoring Patterson Plank Road, it just seems like as a motorist, I get very upset. And you know what? You should too, when law enforcement agencies at the municipal level seem to sort of be punitive against us. Now, the speed traps I'm talking about here were highlighted by Google Maps this week, and especially, listen, up here in North Jersey, folks, they're an absolute nuisance. Now, I get it. It's all about public safety. It's about keeping the road safe. And I'm all about that, and I hear you. But as a regular person, you know what? They can be absolutely just obnoxious, and they can be just aggravating at times. And listen, how many times do we see on Kennedy Boulevard, routes 1 and 9, Tunnelly Avenue, Port and Pillar Boulevard, or even River Road, where we see cops just stationed at the most inopportune times? Yes, we know what's going on, and we understand that these municipalities have a specific goal in what they're doing. Now, listen, I understand that some people might disagree with my position and don't like me taking to social media or going on my podcast or even on this program to denounce local police departments. Now, again, I'm being specific about the practices, not the department, not the hardworking men and women that encompass the personnel there, but some of these awful practices. But you know what? I'm going to stand up for motorists today. And if that rubs some people the wrong way, well, then I don't care. But it's about standing up for you, the drivers, who every day go to work, drop off your kids, do food shopping, take care of our elderly in-laws, whatever it is we're doing. Listen, as motorists, sometimes we get sort of caught up with these speed traps. So credit Google Maps this week, at least coming forward and saying that what they're trying to do on their app, and very much like Waze does, if you're not familiar with the app, is sort of letting you know whenever there is construction, some sort of delays, but more importantly, speed traps that are set up by local municipalities. Now, let me just sort of read you some context here from the AP. Now, the problem is that, at least what I've tried to at least allude to, is the fact that, listen, the problem with some cops locally is that they think that some of these methods that they're employing are beyond reproach. And here's a reminder for everybody today, okay? You serve me, I don't serve you, okay? My tax dollars pay your salary. All right? So don't ever forget that, ladies and gentlemen. And you know what? To our local law enforcement personnel, whether it be in any of the municipalities in Hudson County, keep that in the back of your mind. Whether it's the nice vest you're putting on or the nicely pressed pants that you wear every day to roll call every morning, understand they come from my sweat and my hard work. And you need that reminder sometimes. But even when we think about these things, again, and being a cop is a very difficult job. I get that. So cheers to all the men and women that wear the blue and wear the uniform and keep our community safe. But one of the things I don't agree with, again, is some of these checkpoints and these speed traps. You know what? As far as I'm concerned, cheers to Google. Report as many of them as possible. I'm all in favor of it. Because let's be very honest, speed traps tend to be nothing more than just ways for municipalities to generate revenue off, guess who? You, the public. Now again, why I've always talked about on my podcast and even on this show, local governments could care less at times about the safety of citizens. They just want to generate revenue. And that's a fact. I've read many published reports, and I know many local law enforcement officials might disagree with me, but the proof is in the pudding, and the research is out there. Okay? You can slow down anyway, but some of these speed traps tend to be somewhat overly invasive. Now listen, if anything, more accidents are being caused by people realizing at the last minute that there's a speed trap, and guess what? They're either speeding up or they're braking suddenly. And this is something that, quite frankly, I think affects all of us on a daily basis. Now, let's be very fair, and let's sort of put this into context. While Google Maps has long helped drivers navigate the fastest route or even to avoid tolls, the latest update now has a new feature to locate police speed traps. Now, the feature, which has been one of the more popular on the Android devices, has now expanded to the iOS system on the latest app update, according to Google Maps project manager Sandra Singh. She wanted to say, quote, in an article in the Associated Press this week, "Today we're adding more tools that reflect real-time contributions from the community so you can stay even more informed when you're behind the wheel." She also went on to say that people now have the ability to report crashes, speed traps, and even traffic slowdowns right from their phones in real time. Now, yes, if you use Waze, that technology is already available. But more chances than not, research tells us that Google Maps tends to be the more prevalent type of app that's being used on a daily basis. Now, U.S. local law enforcement has previously voiced concerns over the location technology and even sent a letter to Google this week at their offices in New York, demanding that the company, which also owns the Waze navigation app, stop those type of alerts. Now, the recent police union here in New Jersey want to say, quote, "Revealing the location of checkpoints puts those drivers, their passengers, and the general public at risk," according to the New York Police Department, and even in a letter that they sent to the home offices of Google located in Midtown Manhattan. On Monday, NYPD spokesman Sergeant Mary Frances O'Donnell said that, quote, "The department is engaged in productive discussions with Google to make information available to drivers that will make the road safer and encourage responsible driving while not impeding the enforcement of New York State vehicle and traffic laws." Again, Google also rolled out the ability to report construction, lane closures, as well as disabled vehicles and any objects in the road. Folks, listen, I get it. It's a public safety measure, but make no mistake about it. A lot of these speed traps are revenue money makers for towns. I've seen it. I've seen some of these speed traps be set up at the most inopportune times. I understand as motorists, we want safe roads and we want easy driving roads. But by the same token, we shouldn't make it too easy for these municipalities to sort of dig into our pockets more and more every year. That's what these speed traps are. There's no other way to say it. And again, that doesn't make me bad law enforcement. It doesn't make me sort of bash them or be even anti-cop. It makes me anti-bad practices. And that's what this is. Now, if you think I'm wrong, and especially for all my law enforcement fans tuning into the program today or even on the podcast, challenge me. Give me the research. But I can give you the research right back. And that's what I'm thinking about right now. On this week's edition of the award-winning Talk on the Hudson, I welcomed Hoboken Mayor Ravi Bhalla. Now, for over 75 minutes, we talked a lot about what's going on in the Mile Square City, more importantly, the quality of life, and even the state of the city currently. But here's some of the highlights I want to share with you today. And first and foremost, we talked about his backing of 5 city council candidates. And without a doubt, obviously, as I was trying to sort of have the mayor admit it openly on the podcast, he was more than a gentleman in terms of his transparency. But nevertheless, though, if he's running 5 council candidates, it's very clear to everybody he's not happy with the current direction of the city council and clearly wants to shape it more along his platform and along his policy lines. Let's hear what he had to say about it.
Someone might say, earlier this spring you introduced your ticket to the city of Hoboken and who your slate of candidates are for the city council. Mr. Mayor, some people might just say, you know what, the mayor just doesn't like the 5 current incumbents, and the mayor wants to shape the council, not in his image. I mean, that sounds like very Star Wars-like, but he wants to shape the council according to his platform or his policies. And to someone listening to you tonight, Mr. Mayor, what can you tell us to sort of disprove that? Because, again, for the most part, if it would seem to the regular person like if you're happy with the leadership on the council currently, there will be no need for you to sort of run candidates. So the fact that you're running candidates, any reasonable person might conclude, well, the mayor just isn't happy with councilman or councilwoman A, B, and C. What can you tell us tonight to sort of maybe disprove some of that, or what you believe the council should be and why you believe so strongly in your ticket?
Yeah, well, I would say that, in order for government to run not just well, but as well as possible, you need a mayor and a city council that are working together, share a common vision, are not bickering over, petty politics. And unfortunately, the current council composition as it stands doesn't meet that basic standard. So, what I've done done is run a slate of, basically residents who are community activists who have no special interest other than the city of Hoboken, and making sure that our city grows and progresses the way we have in the past years. So we want to run a positive campaign. We have a slate of candidates who are largely first-time candidates who their special interest. And when we talk about special interest, people ask, what are your special interests? Every single one of these candidates, I can say their special interest is Hoboken. They care only about Hoboken, solely and exclusively. And those are the people. Those are the type of people that I trust. They're above politics. They want to work with the administration to move Hoboken forward. They will provide a check. I've spoken to a number of people who I'm supporting. We don't always agree on everything, which is okay. That's called democracy. And they've told me that. They told me that before I supported them, and I'm fine with that. I welcome that. I need a city council who will support me, but will also provide a check to let me know in good faith when we can do better as an administration. So we've collected a great group of council candidates: Phil Cohen, Nora Martinez DiBenedetto, Kristen Kruger Powell, Lisa Springle, Phil Cohen. All these people that support my policies, but they're not afraid to tell me when they think that I'm doing the wrong thing. And I welcome that input because it's coming from a good place.
Without a doubt, he has some adversaries on the city council. And without a doubt, Mayor Bhalla has a very carefully picked ticket this coming November 5th. Again, there's a lot of diversity there among the male and female candidates. And without a doubt, he's hoping to at least steal some seats from some of his enemies on the city council. We'll find out what happens coming up on Election Day. Secondly, though, towards the end of the interview, again, it was a really informative and very illuminating interview, to say the very least, this past week. But I sort of asked the mayor about nightlife and how that continues to be sort of a rallying cry for business owners, both restaurants and for bar owners alike, about whether or not bar crawls or even hospitality and nightlife will continue to exist in the Mile Square City. The mayor has a specific stance on this, and check out what he had to say about it.
They've continued. There have been less incidents. They've been fun. They've been joyous, but they haven't been as chaotic. Is that still something that's on your radar?
Sure. I think the bar community has if they're thinking towards the future, they have an opportunity to kind of dovetail away from bar crawls and try to cater towards the changing demographics in Hoboken, where we're becoming a lot more so-called adult-oriented, where you can have some fantastic and dynamic bars and restaurants that cater towards Hoboken residents. So I would urge, bar and restaurant owners to look inwards and see that there is a major, massive market within Hoboken for them to flourish and thrive, because there's a demand for, whether it's cuisine or entertainment, music, bars or what have you, that caters towards what Hoboken represents, within the community. As far as, bars bringing, these bar crawls with people from outside of Hoboken, the sort of the so-called younger crowd. There is no prohibition for them to doing that, but bar owners should be forewarned that a liquor license to operate a bar is not a right; it's a privilege. And to the extent that that privilege is abused by serving individuals who are underage or individuals who are obviously intoxicated or over occupancy issues, what have you. We maintain a zero tolerance policy.
Undoubtedly, the mayor is very committed to preserving the quality of life for Hoboken residents, whether it's maybe having some sort of guidelines when it comes to nightlife and hospitality, development, or even how he sees the makeup of the current city council. We'll find out on election day whether or not his council candidates will indeed prevail, and more importantly, as he continues to shape Hoboken in not only in his ideological image, but more so as he seeks re-election in 2021, a lot remains to be seen about what goes on in the Mile Square City. You can listen to the episode in its entirety by going to www.blogtalkradio.com/Talking to Hudson from any PC, Mac, smartphone, or tablet. You can download the episode and listen to it anywhere at any time. And again, it airs live every Wednesday night at 9 p.m. on Blog Talk Radio. As discussed last week, October is also Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And cheers to the Township of North Bergen, consisting of Mayor Nicholas Sacco, as well as Police Chief Robert Dowd and the North Bergen Police Department for bringing awareness about this serious problem. Along with their partnership with Women Rising, domestic violence continues to be at the center stage of not just in the Township of North Bergen, but throughout all the municipalities in Hudson County. And coming up on Saturday, November the 2nd, it's your chance to sort of show support for the North Bergen municipality and the North Bergen Police Department, as they will have a football game to show support during Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Now, it'll be located at Bruin Stadium, which is situated at James J. Braddock Park, right off 90th Street and Kennedy Boulevard in North Bergen. Some great games on the schedule there. We'll have a game at 5 p.m., at 6 p.m., and also at 7 p.m. Women Rising, the local nonprofit organization, trying to at least raise awareness about domestic violence and working hard with the municipality of North Bergen, will be there providing information and also free giveaways throughout the entire afternoon, and what should be an outstanding day for football. And if you love the gridiron, trust me, you'll love watching these games in person. Again, proceeds from the attendance and also other donations will benefit Women Rising and domestic violence programs in the Township of North Bergen. So again, folks, don't forget, Saturday, November the 2nd, please join the North Bergen Police Department and Mayor Nicholas Sacco, along with the Board of Commissioners, for some gridiron fun in support of Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Again, check out the town website and also check out on the town's Facebook, because it's a game you don't want to miss for a cause that really needs a lot of serious attention, folks. Domestic violence, again, is something that, is too pervasive and takes on a life of its own, not just in the Township of North Bergen, but throughout all the municipalities. So again, cheers to Women Rising in the Township of North Bergen, as well as all the municipalities here in Hudson County for taking domestic violence seriously and doing its part to hopefully end domestic violence once and for all. So again, don't forget, Saturday, November 2nd, from 5 until 7 p.m., a great schedule of games. Again, and you do your part to raise awareness. Wear purple if you can, like I am right now, during October for Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Another local story in Hoboken, and folks, believe it or not, we knew it was coming, but e-scooters seem to be sort of the craze for a lot of residents, as it's helped everybody sort of get from point A to point B within the city of Hoboken. But sure enough, folks, like a lot of things in life, we can't have too many things, because guess what? Because of a bad apple, it ruins it for the rest of us. So let me just sort of unravel this a little bit for you. And again, you have to forgive me if I'm laughing, because just the name itself kind of makes you think about sometimes how government can be a little overly expansive. But the city of Hoboken will indeed be rolling out, and trust me when I tell you, micromobility code enforcement officers to address scooter safety concerns in the Mile Square City. Now, shout out to HMAG, one of the more perennial online news publications in the city of Hoboken, for providing clarity on this story. Now, this past week, Hoboken announced that it's launching Operation Rolling Justice. Now, again, it's in sort of the ongoing battle for scooter safety, as they will be deploying 2 micromobility code enforcement officers, that's right, MCEOs, to cover the Moscow City and enforce the ordinances and regulations pertaining to the micromobility devices, whether they're e-scooters, bicycles, or even e-skateboards. Now, again, let me just give you some more information here, again, as provided by HMAG this week. Now, scooters in Hoboken have been under some intense scrutiny since their rollout on May 20th. Recently, a rider was arrested only a month later for attempting to flee the police on the waterfront after colliding with a pedestrian. Only last month, a scooter collided with a mother and a child on the sidewalk, prompting Hoboken city officials and the city council to crack down on safety with bans along parks and also along the waterfront. But meanwhile, incidents of DWIs involving scooters, yes folks, you heard correctly, incidents of DWIs on scooters have now been making the headlines in the Moscow City for the past few weeks. Now again, nevertheless though, the program's popularity has really skyrocketed in Hoboken, and it's been significant, with Lime, the company that has a contract with the city of Hoboken, most recently reporting that 390,000 plus trips were made by over 60,000 unique riders since the pilot program started in May. Now, riders enjoy sort of the ease and convenience of this rideshare program, and with the scooters as a way to sort of navigate through some of the short journeys that the city of Hoboken sometimes creates, and even with so much traffic, it allows, riders of all kinds to be able to get from point A to point B, again, within the mile square city. Now, according to the city of Hoboken in a statement, quote, the MCEOs will educate riders as well as provide summonses to riders who violate the city's ordinances. The MCEOs will focus on enforcement of e-scooter violations, such as riding on sidewalks, riding in parks, as well as prohibited areas on the waterfront walkway, those that are not obeying traffic control devices, and much more. In addition to issuing summonses, the enforcement officers will also work with Lime and the Hoboken Police Department to suspend the accounts of those who disregard certain regulations. Ultimately, the MCEOs will also partner with local organizations to lead micromobility safety and education initiatives. Now, again, folks, while this sounds humorous to us, I think it also sort of highlights the importance of public safety. It's a densely populated city, to say the very least, and that's what Hoboken represents to a lot of us. Now, these e-scooters are indeed very convenient and also very cost-effective. But like a lot of things in life, we sometimes just can't have nice things because a few people ruin it for the rest of us. And that seems to be happening right now in the Mile Square City. Now, again, also as a reminder, the e-scooter pilot program is set to be reviewed this coming November by the City Council, at which point, ultimately, the city will decide whether or not to maintain the agreement or ultimately terminate the program. As the decision nears, though, the city is asking residents and visitors alike to visit the town website as it pertains to e-scooter usage and also how viable it is in the Mile Square City. It remains to be seen, folks, in terms of what happens coming up in November, but since May 20th, it's been very convenient and it's been very affordable. But by the same token, as you can see, it's been also a nuisance. Whether it's a DWI or people just riding their e-scooters on the waterfront or in parks, it still creates somewhat of a public safety hazard. Now, whether or not more government needs to be sort of intervening to at least provide some oversight, well, you and I can have that debate on another time. But without question, the city of Hoboken, and more importantly, the city council, is looking to make Hoboken safer, and perhaps these MCEOs will go a long way in making sure that e-scooter riding indeed remains safer and indeed continues to remain accessible to Hoboken residents. Another story takes us to Jersey City. And as I've been talking about on this program for many weeks now, Airbnb continues to be dominating the headlines. And coming up on November 5th, Jersey residents will go to the ballot box and decide on a ballot measure whether or not to keep the current regulations that have been put upon Airbnb by the city council, or to vote no and do away with them altogether. Last week, the Jersey Education Association joined the fight with residents that are looking to push for all the yeses on Election Day. But surprisingly, the Jersey City NAACP is now joining the fight and hoping and urging residents to vote no on the upcoming ballot measure. As reported this week by John Hines with the Hudson County View, the Jersey City NAACP is coming out against the Airbnb referendum less than 2 weeks away from the ballot measure, claiming that the new regulations implemented by the city over the summer amount to economic discrimination. Now, again, just to sort of put into context here, NAACP President Reverend Nathaniel Legay said in a statement this week, by targeting the 70% of Jersey City residents who are tenants, the majority of whom are people of color, this ban amounts to nothing more than economic discrimination. plain and simple. Even worse, it will promote and continue to promote the tale of two cities that has long existed here in Jersey City, satisfying the few while leaving the rest of us who rely on short-term rental economies and the revenues hung out to dry. Along with our strong belief in the importance of this issue, we feel especially called to stand up for justice now, given the ugly political harassment that short-term rental hosts of color have experienced throughout this time period and this campaign. Simply speaking, for their rights and livelihoods and their rights to vote. Well, folks, I've talked about it before on this program, and listen, I'm always for the accountability of corporations. More times than not, they tend to sort of run out of control, and at the end of the day, who suffers? It's we the taxpayers or we the consumers. Listen, short-term rentals are necessary. Short-term rentals have provided some much-needed income for Jersey City residents that, quite frankly, are being priced out of Hudson County's largest city. Now, what happens coming up on November the 5th remains to be seen. But I'll tell you right now, whether it's the Jersey City Education Association, the Jersey City NAACP, advocacy groups, or even Airbnb themselves, it's been a contentious fight leading up to Election Day. And we'll find out who votes yes and who votes no, and ultimately whether Airbnb will be held accountable or whether Airbnb will sort of be allowed to sort of run amok within Jersey City. We'll find out in the weeks ahead. Lastly, folks, October is also Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And for the last few weeks here on the program, I've been advocating on behalf of the American Cancer Society and making strides against breast cancer. Now, throughout the month, I've been raising funds with my partnership with the North Hudson Regional Firefighters Association and the North Hudson Regional Fire Officers Association, Locals 3950 and 3951 respectively, to raise money during a professor's quest to save breasts. It's been my campaign since 2008 to raise money, again, to raise awareness during Breast Cancer Awareness Month in October, and ultimately to help the American Cancer Society collect resources and revenue in our fight to stop breast cancer once and for all. We've been raising money all throughout the month, and hopefully, if you're interested in donating, you can always go to the show's podcast, Facebook page, and also on Instagram. Just do a search, A Professor's Quest to Save Breasts, and guess what? You'll be able to donate there. Your donation online is safe, secure, and tax deductible. I want to thank both Locals 3950 and 3951 throughout the month of October for helping me raise money again on behalf of the American Cancer Society and also the Making Strides Against Breast Cancer campaign. And since 2008, I'm proud to say I've been able to raise over $44,000 to raise at least awareness and to also help develop resources and provide assistance to those suffering with breast cancer on a daily basis. So again, folks, if you haven't donated, please consider doing so online. Check out the show's Facebook page as well as Instagram, and I look forward to your donation. Every little bit helps, folks, in our fight to stop breast cancer once and for all. And that's this week's show here with the Hudson Media Group. Folks, to check out all the excellent programming provided by the Hudson Media Group, check out their websites, www.hmgtvshows.com and also www.livestream.com/HMGTV. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and also follow them on Instagram and Twitter. And don't forget to check out Talking the Hudson live every Wednesday night on Blog Talk Radio by going to www.blogtalkradio.com/Talking the Hudson. You can listen to the episodes anywhere, anytime from any PC, Mac, smartphone, or tablet. Don't forget to like the podcast on Facebook and also follow it on Instagram and Twitter. If we're talking politics, we're doing it right here with the Hudson Media Group. I'm Fernando Uribe. Thank you so much for watching.
Don't forget to catch Fernando's podcast at blogtalkradio.com/talkonthehudson. New episodes available every Wednesday night at 9 p.m.